Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode of A Dog's Soul. Is your dog sometimes running around like an absolute goofball? Maybe it's a puppy, maybe it's an adult dog, and maybe you've heard the word Zoomies before. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm Anita, I'm a professional dog trainer. I show you how to build a trusting relationship with your dog to overcome fear and reactivity and teach him life skills to live a happy life by your side. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and like. And now stay tuned and have fun. Alright, so Zoomies are something that we find very funny a lot of times because our dogs are just, it's like they have lost it. They have a screw loose or something like that. They just take off and be crazy. And it's, to be honest, in the beginning, fun to watch. And I'm not saying that a dog can never have Zoomies because sometimes it's something they need to do. But if we see Zoomies a lot of times, very often, and in a lot of situations, then we should think about doing something about it. Because Zoomies are a sign of a very high stress level. Dogs do that when they have no other way and everything is just too much. So it's like when we have the feeling of being spread thin for a very long time and we feel it bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up, and we feel like we're going to explode sooner than later. Alright? And the explosion for our dogs are the Zoomies. So it can look very different for a lot of dogs. Some dogs just like to run like crazy and don't stop. Some dogs run straight. Some dogs run in circles. For Sammy, it was always running in circles. He is a herding dog and that's what he did. So every time he experienced something being too much, be it a walk or be it an encounter or be it training, he started to tick out. So he started running in circles around me, and not always around me. Sometimes he just ran in circles in front of me, but he had to run in circles. And he was very hard to get out of that. So that was it for him. And he wasn't able to concentrate after that very well as well. So this was a very clear sign that whatever we did before was too much for him. Of course, there would have been other signs, but we were very young and had no idea, so we missed the signs before, and then we only had the Zoomies to go by. So whenever you see your dog running around like crazy, or some dogs prefer biting into stuff. So you see them stalking out some kind of stick or tree branch on the ground or something like that, and they get their teeth into that and they go to town on that thing. So they bite and bite and bite and bite and bite, and they cannot stop by themselves because they need that outlet in that situation. And of course, if it's biting, then with some dogs, it can be dangerous to get your hands near your dog in that moment. Of course, the dog is not unconscious, so most dogs still won't bite you, or at least be very careful with their teeth and won't hurt you. But there are dogs who cannot really control how hard they bite, or they have never learned bite inhibition or something like that. And then it becomes really painful. So it is important that we see Zoomies and we are not blinded by how funny they look, and instead really take care of our dogs and really try to make activities a little bit less stressful. And that can look very different for every dog. It really depends on what's triggering the dog, what's stressing the dog, and then go from there. So a protocol helps, of course, a lot. And I know very many of you will kind of roll their eyes and sigh and think, well, oh no, not a protocol again. We're protocoling about everything. And that's kind of true, because whenever we see problematic behavior, it helps to protocol. And whenever we want to change something, it helps to protocol everything. Because the more we know about a behavior, the more we know about why our dogs are doing something, the easier it is to change, right? So if we know that every time our dog is sniffing a lot on the walks and then goes into Zoomies, then we know that it has to be something to do with scent. And then we can start guessing, because we will never know what our dogs are smelling, but we can start guessing. Is it a very wildlife heavy area? And that's what's very arousing for our dog. Or is it that a lot of people go there and our dog is sniffing a lot of different human scents? Or is it a lot of other dogs that walk there and our dog finds that very, very exciting? And of course, sometimes our guesses are really good, because if we meet a lot of other dogs on that path, the guess that it might be other dogs will be pretty good. In other areas where we don't meet anybody, the guess for wildlife could be very good. It could also be something totally different. Because again, our dogs smell so much, we cannot even imagine. So yeah, but we know definitely that it's something to do with scent. And that could mean that whenever we are in an area where our dog is sniffing a lot, then we keep the walks shorter. And for longer walks, we choose an area where our dog is not that interested in the environment. Of course, it's always good to have an interesting environment for our dogs, because, well, they have to have something from the walk, and walking alone isn't enough. So it should be interesting, but it shouldn't be overwhelmingly interesting. You know what I mean? Tell me in the comments if you have a clear picture of what that could look like for your dog. That would be very, very interesting. And whenever your dog is already zooming out, then we need something to calm our dog down again. And what I like doing is interrupt with a relaxation cue or word or signal, whatever you want to call it, and then go from there. You always need an alternative after that, but it dampens the arousal, the stress level, just a tiny bit, so alternatives become possible. And if your dog is responding well to that, you can offer something to sniff, like scattered treats. So your dog has something to sniff, but can also do something after sniffing, like eating, right? Or you can give him something like a Kong or something like that if you have that on you, or a toy to bite down on, or something like that. Or you can just be there for him. For Sammy, it was a combination of contact and not too much touching because he's not that snuggly outside. But he did like the feeling of somebody there by him, helping him, and just being there for nothing but understanding him. And that really helped. So, yes. And if your dog is able to recover from Zoomies, then of course you can let him do his Zoomies when he can calm down after that. Alright, so why don't you tell me in the comments or with an email or however you like if this is something your dog has experienced already or not, and how you reacted to it. And we'll see each other next time. Until then, bye.